迎你收看今天的《文茜世界周报》。每一年的5月中旬到5月底左右，就是每一个美国大学的毕业季节。这时候，各大学就会请来他们心目中最适合对学生演讲的人。去年《文茜的世界周报》也在这个时刻为大家做了一个关于教育跟毕业演讲的专题。今天我们要为大家播出好几场的毕业典礼演讲，同时也为大家讨论到底现在念大学值不值得。大学对大家来说，这一张文凭它的价值是什么？ HBO 的 Signature 这个频道很快的制作一个很棒的纪录片，它将在6月14号的时候播出，特别独家授权给了《文茜世界周报》，这是我们今天的专题。首先我们先来看苹果的 CEO Tim Cook， 这位 Steve Jobs钦定的接班人来到了美国华府最著名的大学 George Washington 大学，在这里进行了毕业典礼的演说。他告诉他们，在他16岁的时候来到华府的经验。在来之前，他是阿拉巴马州的，他先跟州长握手，然后呢，这个州长叫 Wallace， 当时是非常有名的，支持美国白人拥有特殊的权利。黑人要进学校，黑人要搭公车，他认为都是应该要种族排斥的。然后接着，他后来又有一次来华府见了美国的总统 Jimmy Carter 卡特总统，他说到了这2个政治人物给他的印象。他说 ，Wallace 呢是靠分裂、分化这个社会获得了政治资本，而美国的总统卡特他送出的讯息刚好相反。他告诉大家，我们都是一家人，每个人皆然。一个大学毕业生，你们即将迈入社会，在你们的成长过程当中 ，Tim Cook、iPhone 也是最著名的苹果的 CEO， 在现代接下 Steve Jobs 大家给他掌声的时刻，他说了这么一段话。他认为一个人在成长的过程中，最重要的就是探索你所相信跟接受的价值观，并且终生以此为你的志业。你必须找到你的北极星，那意味着很多选择里头你要做出的选项，每个选项都代表了背后的价值观点。那有的时候很难，但是你必须做出选择。他提到了这是在一个人成长过程中最重要的事情。你希望靠分裂这个社会获得你的政治资本，还是告诉大家我们都是一家人？我们来听一下 Tim Cook 在 George Washington 这场演讲。
Hello, GW. Before I begin today, they asked me to make a standard announcement. You've heard this before about silencing your phones. So those of you with an iPhone, just place it in silent mode. If you don't have an iPhone, please pass it to the center aisle. Apple has a world-class recycling program.
在轻松的苹果笑话之后，眺望着不远处的华盛顿纪念碑，苹果 CEO 库克告诉台下这群即将奔向人生未知旅程的乔治华盛顿大学毕业生，人生的目标不是成功赚大钱，而是找到自己的价值观，并且终其一生坚守信念。
This place has a powerful pull. It was here that Dr. Martin Luther King challenged Americans to make real the promises of democracy, to make justice a reality for all of God's children. And it was here that President Ronald Reagan called on us to believe in ourselves and to believe in our capacity to perform great deeds. I'd like to start this morning by telling you about my first visit here. In the summer of 1977, I was 16 years old. At the end of my junior year of high school, I'd won an essay contest. I was one of 2 kids from Baldwin County that was chosen to go to Washington along with hundreds of other kids across the country. Before we left, the Alabama delegation took a trip to our state capital in Montgomery for a meeting with the governor. The governor's name with George C. Wallace. The same George Wallace who in 1963 stood in the schoolhouse door at the University of Alabama to block African Americans from enrolling. Wallace embraced the evils of segregation. He pitted whites against blacks, the South against the North, the working class against the so-called elites. Meeting my governor was not an honor for me. My heroes in life were Dr. Martin Luther King and Robert F. Kennedy, who had fought against the very things that Wallace stood for, that injustices like segregation have no place in our world, that equality is a right. As I said, I was only 16 when I met Governor Wallace, but shaking his hand felt like a betrayal of my own beliefs. From Montgomery, we flew to Washington. On June 15th, 1977, I was one of 900 high schoolers greeted by the new president, President Jimmy Carter. He held the most powerful job in the world, but he had not sacrificed any of his humanity. In the space of a week, I'd come face to face with two men who had guaranteed themselves a place in history. They came from the same region. They were from the same political party. It was clear to me that one was right and one was wrong. Wallace had built his political career by exploiting divisions between us. Carter's message, on the other hand, was that we are all bound together, every one of us. For you graduates, the process of discovering yourself, of inventing yourself, of reinventing yourself is about to begin in earnest. It's about finding your values and committing to live by them. You have to find your North Star. And that means choices. Some are easy. Some are hard. And some will make you question everything. 20 years after my visit to Washington, I met someone who made me question everything, who upended all of my assumptions in the very best way. That was Steve Jobs. We believe that a company that has values and acts on them can really change the world, and an individual can too. That can be you. That must be you.
库克的这番话不禁让人回忆起2005年贾伯斯在史丹佛大学毕业典礼上的经典演说。
You've got to find what you love, and that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. So keep looking. Don't settle.
In 1997 and early 1998, Apple had been adrift for years, rudderless. But Steve thought Apple could be great again, and he wanted to know if I'd like to help. I took the job and changed my life. It's been 17 years, and I have never once looked back.
从字里行间流露出了库克对贾伯斯的敬仰与怀念。两位了不起的苹果领航者，也许行事作风不尽相同，但是有一点是一样的，他们都相信科技可以改变世界。
People who witness injustice and want to expose it. And now they can because they have a camera in their pocket all the time. You don't have to choose between doing good and doing well. It's a false choice, today more than ever. Your challenge is to find work that pays the rent, puts food on the table, and lets you do what is right and good and just.
Stay hungry, stay foolish. And I have always wished that for myself. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition.
That can be you. That should be you. That must be you. Congratulations, class of 2015. I'd like to take one photo of you. This is the best view in the world.
最美的风景收进了库克的手机之中，希望的枝芽种在了台下25000名学子心里。
Thank you very much.
而因为 Prada 的恶魔而非常出名的 Vogue 的总编辑，今年也出席了一场演讲会。那么这场演讲会呢，他来到的是英国的牛津大学。在牛津大学今年的毕业典礼里头，他给底下的学子安娜温图，他给底下的学子最重要的建议，不是当一个你想象中什么我要很努力工作而已，他告诉他们，不要在乎做任何的杂事跟小事，不要小看这些小事，什么事情你都可以做，你都可以蹲下来弄脏你的手，然后不要觉得说哦，我只要专业做一件事情，不是的。